If your Peugeot throws the code P1336, it means the engine experiences misfiring that affect the emission control system. And this is bad news since the problem may be connected with serious engine head damage, but at first you will want to check less expensive but still common culprits. First of all, I would recommend you go to the nearest Peugeot dealer and ask them to check your VIN for the TSB related to the P1336 code or also any other trouble code you currently have in your car. The P1336 is rarely alone. There should be other codes like the P0302, for example, meaning the problem is in the second cylinder, or P0300, showing that various cylinders misfire. Well, if this is the EP6 engine, I'm quite sure the problem is with the valve seats. They tend to just fall off in these engines and create compression problems that lead to bad misfiring. Also, it's hard to check because sometimes the affected valve seat will just jump in its place and will show no compression anomalies when you are measuring compression. Unfortunately, the repair is extremely expensive since the engine head will have to be disassembled to the bones and reassembled with new parts. Usually valve seats, guides and also seals will need replacement, and the labor is very expensive. The problem is very common for the 1.6 liter EP6 engine, but may also happen with other petrol engines made by PSA. Before you agree to pay for such a repair, it makes sense to check for other or less expensive culprits that can lead to misfiring. They are spark plugs, ignition coils and fuel injectors. For plugs and coils, it's quite easy. For example, you register the P0301 code, which means misfiring in cylinder 1. First, swap the ignition coils between the first and second cylinders, start the car and look at the codes. If it's now P0302, the coil is faulty. If it's still P0301, the coil is not the culprit. Then swap the spark plug between cylinder 1 and cylinder 2, check for the codes now. If the code didn't change, the problem is not with the plugs. Checking injectors is much harder. You can potentially swap them too, but it takes a lot of effort and it's actually easier to find a good repair shop that has equipment for checking the injectors. Fortunately, now it doesn't cost a fortune. Also, measuring compression in the engine may give you additional benefits in diagnosing the problem. If you finally can't locate the problem, it's most likely the defective valve seat, but before you spend the money on repair, you may want to clean the valve seats from any buildup. For this, get the high-octane fuel and drive on the highway in your third gear, taking the revolutions over 5,000. This would heat up the engine properly, and if the problem is in the buildup that creates problems in the valve system, you can clean it this way. If this doesn't help, it's time to repair the engine head, which is not going to be cheap at all.